Okay, let's get this guy open. Enough jaw jacking. I do not like how these grip panels come off. My T-Pro, it got deformed pretty quickly. Taking these off. Now this is interesting because the product listing does say it has two 18650s installed. And you would think, if it was like the T-Pro, because this does look like a very, very close copy of the T-Pro, that you would see batteries installed right here, but we do not. We do not. All right, let's go ahead and get her a part. So this is going to be a 1.5 millimeter hex driver. If you want to know what drivers I'm using, these are the MIP drivers. By far the best drivers you can get. Don't believe me, buy a set and you will know what I'm talking about. They're kind of expensive. So here we go. We have the whole RF module comes out as one big old block of goo. So there's that, and then the antenna. It's kind of weaseled in here. Let's see if we can pop this guy off. Well, it does have some Celastic on there, so I'm not going to try peeling that off. We'll just let her dangle. So that is something different than the other radios. Is basically whatever type of RF system that comes installed is all they're going to have. This one, you can change it out for a different style of transmitter. This here is the 915868 transmitter that you could throw in there if you wanted to go with the ultra long range 900 band, and that does also come with a different antenna. Talk about that more in here in a bit. So the rest of the screws in the radio here, they all look like they're going to be Phillips head. I'm using a double-aught Phillips. There we go. We're getting her. Just gonna need a spudger. So there's great risk of breaking things. You have to do this. Oh, all right, guys. That was not an enjoyable process. Very difficult to get apart. I took a lot of things out that I didn't need to. Obviously, I didn't need to take out any of these things here that are used to set your mode or your throttle, return springs, or any of that stuff. I didn't need to take any of that out. I did, just because I am surprised there are so many clips on this radio. Did not need to take this tension bar off either. Anyways, so here's the rear shell. We do have some clips that we had to deal with. We had 6. We got these 2, this one, and then these 2 are what was basically keeping the clamshell together. I'd say you probably get this open and closed a few times before this becomes broken and shitty. Other than that, there's only 4 screws holding the rest of it together. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not excited about how this radio came apart. I'd say that as far as repairability goes, pretty low marks. So here's the guts of the radio. We have our 18650s here, like it said on the description. So let's go ahead and get these guys out of here. Got one out. I wonder if it still powers on with only one. Well, look at that. It does. So this runs in 1S, 2P, so 1 series, 2 parallel configuration. Pop that guy off of there as well. And it looks like there's some screws down here in the bottom. Get those out. Let's see if these are easily serviceable or nah. See, your radio starts having short run time. Oh, I understand why there was foam in the holes. It was from these. Alright, so we got that out. Are these serviceable? Yeah, you could. You could. Looks like there's probably 2 ground wires going to the ground side and 2 going to the positive side. But they're held in by 4 screws. Okay, okay. You dig that. Let's keep digging. Let's get this one out. There we go. There's another battery module. Calling a module is kind of not quite right. But. So here we are. We got our gimbals. They are dinky little gimbals. Man, the wires are freaking skinny. Tiny, tiny little wires on there. So, I don't know how well they're going to handle the fatigue of going back and forth a million times, but at least they're not that hard to get to. Let's keep going. So the connectors are locking style connectors. I haven't seen this before in a radio. Reminds me of the old Immersion RC Tramp VTXs had that locking connector. These are all also held in with a little bit of Celastic. It is something that's a bit on the rigid side, but there is some sort of goop holding those connectors together. Must have been learned from somebody else. Jumper. Jumper. And there is, okay, so it's a switch kind of PCB module board looking thing. So there is your switches. So you won't be able to buy a switch individually. I mean, obviously these are all just industrial jelly beans and you'd be able to buy a switch, but you will most likely just be getting a left or a right hand board assembly. Focus, there you go. Let's get the other side out. Again, just another switchboard. It's mirrored from the other ones. If you want to make these feel a little bit better, I bet you could put a little bit of Nigel right there on the stem, work it in there, and make them feel a little bit better. Not that it really matters. Alright, so we're left with the gimbals and our main board. Go ahead and release this gimbal connector here. There's one. The internal design, I think, actually looks pretty nice. This is laid out a lot nicer than the Zorro, but the Zorro is also trying to do a whole lot more stuff in a much different form factor. So the Zorro has full-size gimbals on it, which obviously this does not. Well, look at that. Number 4 is kind of tucked in underneath this little board here. So that is interesting. So does that mean I have to remove this? I don't like this at all. This is not cool. So this is one of the Hall effect sensors. That's all glued in place. Ew, this is gross. Guys, why would you do this? Just leave the screw out. And it's kind of indexed, so I can't actually like rotate it out of place. So I need to take that loose, lift this up, just to get to that fourth screw on the gimbal. Wow, that seems like a bad idea, just even from a manufacturing standpoint. Like, that's a lot of extra effort. All right. There's your gimbal. Oh, that's dumb, guys. Look at this. They actually glued the wire to the case. Why? Yeah, so there's your Hall effect pickup. If you guys don't know how Hall effects work, so this is just a magnet here, nothing special. And this is the Hall effect pickup right here. It basically measures the lines of flux coming off of this to turn into a digital value, or a numerical value that ends up telling the radio the position of that axis of the gimbal. No physical connection whatsoever, so you can beat this thing all day long. It will not change anything because there's nothing touching. Now, these can suffer from thermal drift depending on how they're designed. This is all pretty rigidly mounted together. It's all one piece, so it should expand and contract in a pretty consistent way. So I don't think you'd have anything to worry about there. But little itty bitty gimbal. That's so like I said, that is the Hall effect board, and so is this one. So one's for the X, one's for the Y. All the contacts are plastic AF. Do have actual bearings in here. Very, very skinny bearings, but they all have bearings on them. They're not riding on like oil-A bushings like the old potentiometer gimbals of yore did. And you don't need to remove any springs to make this a mode 2, mode 1 radio. All it is just changing the position of the screws in the back cover here to push down on this tension bar. Once you take the tension off of this, it becomes whatever free-floating gimbal you want it to be, and then all they do is they push on this one here to add the tension back in. Not a bad design. And this is the main board. I'm not going to dig into that. There's really nothing to see there, except for this here. This is interesting. This is the thing I'm excited about getting into this radio. This is the part I really want to see. This is the speaker. With no holes in the grill. This is the speaker. It is massive and square. It seems like it has like a resonance chamber to it. This is pretty wild. But interesting, they didn't put any speaker grill in here, and that might actually make it why it sounds so much better than other radios out there. Very interesting way to do it. All right, guys. Well, that's basically the guts of the Commando 8. I'm going to go ahead and put it all back together, and I'll meet you right back here. Obviously, assembly is a reverse or removal, blah, blah, blah. You guys got it. Just a quick correction on these connectors. Like, they're all locking cables, but none of the plugs are actually locking style plugs. So kind of weird there. Weird choice. Real weird choice there, Clark. All right. We'll go ahead and snap this guy back on there. Try to lose you. I don't ever plan on going back inside of you. 4 clicks. Now, be careful, because normally you would disconnect the batteries before you start sticking screwdrivers and anything, but you can't on this radio because the batteries are inside of it. Just gotta be a little extra careful. A little more ginger careful. Last thing to look at is the antenna. And we have this big old T-style antenna. I did get this apart once with my fingernail. Sputter's not super necessary. A lot of plastic snaps. I do not like. Bob's your auntie. There she is. And there is our antenna. It is held in there with a little bit of this antenna fixing glue celastic crap. Get that loose. Not scratching the antenna. The antenna is a PCB based antenna, obviously, because it's a frickin' PCB. So, come on. A lot of glue on this thing. Really wish they wouldn't have glued it in so darn tight. Come on. Let go. Oh, jeez. It's such hard stuff to work with. It is so good for attaching antennas, though. It is the right product. All right. I got the antenna loose, and it does just kind of feed through the back here. So we'll, push this pin through, maybe. So many snaps. Oh, I'm an idiot.